I love sharing my messages. I love to help people and support people. And I think if you're not vocal and sharing your messages, then 9 times out of 10, people are probably going through the same as you are or experiencing something similar to what you have. So I didn't have anybody helping me when I was moving up the ranks in those days. So, getting a mentor or getting someone coaching you to help you is very important too. So I think speaking through my messages, I talk about personal branding, I talk about diversity and inclusion a lot, and especially diversity within the tech industry because we don't have enough females. I talk about personal branding and networking and share lots from my own corporate career of over 20 years. So, there's lots of nuggets that I can help people with, even if I'm talking to an audience of 100, if I help 2 or 3 in that audience to go away and take some actions from what I've mentioned in the talks, I think that's, nice to be able to do that.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Against All Odds. My name is Daniel Coker, your accidental podcaster. And in our studio today we have Sonal Shah. Sonal is a senior executive, a tech executive with a global bank in the city. And she's somebody who started out not in tech actually, but actually started out working and doing a degree part-time and has managed to go through a career change, and she's going to tell us about that career change. And the purpose of today's episode is really to let our viewers know that it's possible to pivot and it's possible to change, if you take the right steps and if you discover what your strengths are and all that. So Sonal, welcome to Against All Odds.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
I forgot to mention as well that Sonal is an author. She wrote her first book. She chose tech, and she'll tell us a bit about that as well. Sonal, just to give our viewers a bit of context, do you mind just reintroducing yourself and just telling us a bit about your journey?
Sure.
Before this episode starts, I'd like to ask a big favor. Your subscription means a lot to us, because the bigger this platform gets, the bigger the guests get. So do me a favor, please click on the subscribe button and the bell notification so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. Now let's get back to this episode.
My name's Sonal Shah. I'm a published author and multiple award winner and featured in Forbes. I work full-time within banking, as you've already said, Daniel. And my passion was helping others to succeed in their roles and encourage and inspire others to consider the world of technology. There's not enough of us females in the tech world, and that there's a role for everybody. And I've won multiple awards for the work that I do outside of the day job, but I'm really keen to inspire and help people. And I do a lot of speaking at conferences or events and things as well to help elevate females, and everybody really applies to everybody.
Right. So now, just tell our viewers about you going into work and starting your degree part-time. What was the thinking behind that? I left school after I left college and went straight to work at 19. And obviously, coming from an Asian background, everybody's educated. My brother was, everybody in the family was, and I always did want to do the degree, but I just didn't enjoy my school days. I guess I didn't find my forte, if you like, what I enjoyed. So I went to college. I'd done a business course, and then I absolutely wanted to do the degree, and I didn't really want to leave my full-time job at the time. And I knew that there was an offer there that I looked up the details that you could study part-time and be sponsored by the company that I was with. And so I did this 2 nights a week, and I've always been keen to progress and always been ambitious. And I think it's important to be clear about your goals and have in mind what you want to do. And I just felt like the extra education would widen and broaden my mindset, widen my horizons, and help me in my career, in my journey. So I've had over 20 years of corporate experience, and I think it does give you a good foundation. Obviously, degree isn't for everybody, but this business and finance degree really gave me a lot. Yeah, at what stage then did you decide to pivot into IT? Because I also noticed that you worked in,
before we came on air, you worked in various industries, public service. Do you want to just tell our viewers a bit about that journey as well? Because I think it's important.
Yeah, I left school and went to work at a building society at 19. I left college, not school, college. After the course, I worked at 19 and worked my way up in the building society to assistant manager level. And it was a number of years that I spent there. You know, you work around different departments and find what you like. And I just realised that it was just not. It wasn't. I was getting up every morning bored and not stimulated, and I knew there was something more that I could be doing. So I realised that this wasn't for the next 10 years or so. I didn't want to spend doing this. The next move was area manager or manager level. I just didn't want it. So I decided, right, let's look at my skills, what my strengths, and what do I enjoy. And I knew at that time the tech industry was absolutely starting to boom. Lots of opportunities. I could see it was a really dynamic industry. I found it very exciting, but I had absolutely no experience in IT. So I thought you cannot change careers without anything in your hand. And I knew I had about 10 years experience by then. So if something went wrong, the worst scenario, I'd go back and find a similar job that I was in. But I thought taking the risk was worth it. And obviously you earn more in that industry. So I did a hell of a lot of research. I went round asking people that already worked there. I looked at different short courses, long courses, finding out what was right for me. And this time I decided I could do it part-time like I did my degree, but I wanted a clean break. I knew I wasn't going to stay there, so there was no point staying. I just decided to take the year out, and it happened to be a master's course that covered everything, all A to Z of different technology, and it was like a conversion course, so someone like me would benefit in learning the areas that I had no clue on, and through the course I realised what I enjoyed and didn't enjoy. So it was the best move I made. I think that after achieving that degree, the master's coming out, yes, there was a dip in the economy, the jobs were not there when I came out, so that was another challenge that I overcame. But I feel that it was the best platform I could have taken to just pivot completely and learn new things.
So would you say that you're somebody who has a technical mind? Because I'm just kind of thinking, IT is quite a specialist area, and you kind of threw yourself in there. And the fact that you've risen in that space tells me that you're good at what you do.
So you don't have to be technical, and this is what I was frightened of, because I actually don't enjoy the absolute techie side. There's a role out there for everyone. Tech touches all of our lives, and I found a space in the project, so it was good variety of things. You're delivering different things. So that's where I started in IT training, but then went into coordination, setting up a training department from scratch, and from that I realised the project side was more interesting to me. And I just went from there, really. So I think people need to be aware it's not just about programming or coding or technical. Yes, we need all those technical skills. Cyber is certainly very good for those that are more technical, but there's still roles in cyber as well that are non-technical. So you will find something for everybody, and that's part of the reason I wrote the book, to create that awareness, because people just aren't aware what they could do. Even if they want to change, they have no idea where they could fit in. So yeah.
Okay, right. Career change. Okay, I know you've touched on it briefly. Okay, so somebody's watching this, maybe not one who's going to tech, right? But they're doing. A typical example is, I was reading about this doctor who's gone missing in.
Yes, Dr. Mosley.
Dr. Mosley, yeah, and I pray that he's found.
He's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm reading about him. I was quite intrigued that he read PPE at Oxford, went into investment banking, didn't like it, then retrained as a doctor. And I thought he even practiced as a doctor, but actually he never even practiced for a day. He went straight into journalism and was producing all kinds of scientific shows and podcasts and whatever. And even though he's a doctor, he's not registered as a doctor. And his life, and what I quickly gleaned was the fact that he's lived his life a life of purpose, by repivoting and changing. Yeah. But you must be very brave to be able to do something like that.
You do have to be brave, and I do feel sad when I see people in these jobs for 20, 25 years and they're not happy. I think you don't have to do anything you don't want to, but
The important thing is to be really clear about your strengths and know what you're good at. So it's good to list it out if you're looking for a change, and then see what skills and experience you also bring from your strengths and your past experience. Even if you're starting out and you're not been in work and you're just graduating or you're coming from college, there's other things you do outside of that in activities. So you should be really clear about what you're good at. And within roles, I think it's important to do what you enjoy. So if I'd gone into coding role, I knew it wasn't for me. I just haven't got the patience to sit there all day and do coding. I talk too much for a start. It wouldn't work for me. So you have to be very clear about what you like. And if you're not doing what you enjoy, I think it's really sad to see people in those spaces. They need to be a little bit brave, yes, but then I took a calculated risk when I changed. I knew that I could go back to the old right. That obviously that wasn't the intention, but I had something in my back pocket to fall back on at the worst case scenario. I think people need to come out of their comfort zone to achieve more. So that's important to bear in mind, to take small steps, but you may not make a big change straight away, but you can actually volunteer in a role somewhere else and do some voluntary work to get a feel for what people are doing if you're not sure. Or you can speak to people. People love talking about themselves and their roles. So do a lot of homework in your own networks and circles to understand what it is they bring to the party in their roles. And slowly you can make that change. I absolutely encourage everybody to think about this, because you can't spend 10, 20, 30 years in a role that you're not enjoying, and you won't be fulfilling and performing at your best either. So that's important to remember too.
So you just mentioned there about networking as well, and we can actually met through a network of friends. Can you just elaborate about that? The power of networks to help people to make a career change.
I think I speak about networking a lot, and it's underestimated. I don't think people realise the power within networking, as you say. It's important to always be open and attend events, take interest in others and give back. It's not all about what you want. Make sure you're attending with an open mind, asking loads of open questions. You never know when you've got contacts, when you can, when they may need you or you may need them. It's lovely to have a big pool of contacts. Everybody's got their own speciality they bring to the party, and everybody's got their own unique selves. So it's lovely to have a big network. I can't underestimate that enough.
Right, okay. So in addition to your professional career, doing transformation, working on transformation projects and all that, I also know that you have this passion for public speaking.
I do indeed, yeah. Yeah.
Where did that come from, and how does that fit into this overall picture of Sonal Shah? I mean, where does it fit in?
I love sharing my messages. I love to help people and support people. And I think if you're not vocal and sharing your messages, then 9 times out of 10 people are probably going through the same as you are, or experiencing something similar to what you have. So I didn't have anybody helping me when I was moving up the ranks in those days. So, getting a mentor or getting someone coaching you to help you is very important too. So I think speaking through my messages, I talk about personal branding, I talk about diversity and inclusion a lot, and especially diversity within the tech industry because we don't have enough females. I talk about personal branding and networking, and share lots from my own corporate career of over 20 years. So, there's lots of nuggets that I can help people with, even if I'm talking to an audience of 100, if I help 2 or 3 in that audience to go away and take some actions from what I've mentioned in the talks, I think that's, nice to be able to do that. Yeah.
What has your experience been as a woman in sort of the C-suite? Because some people I've spoken to have said that some of the pushback that they experience doesn't even come from the men. It comes from the few women who have kind of marked out the territory. And this is my space.
Yeah.
And you intrude.
It's so true. It's so true.
Tell us about
I've worked in many male-dominated industries. Telecoms and banking used to be as well. It's much better now. It's getting there. Technology as well. But the one thing, and I do write about this in my book, is I think us females need to stand together more. There's no point creating competition between each other or not supporting each other, because we all go through the similar problems. And I think that's, in some ways, yes, it's a bigger problem than being the only female in the room and not heard. And I just think I have written quite a bit in the book, a little bit about this, because it's a very important point you're bringing up. I just feel like there should be the camaraderie with the females. If we're not standing together, then you can't even talk about the subject of gender and male allyship. You can't even bring that up because you yourself are not being authentic.
Right, okay. So now, if you hadn't pursued a career in IT, what other career might you have considered and why?
I did research a lot before changing, and I thought law would be a really good one for me because I'm, I very love writing and reading, and I love all that space about regulations. And I did research that, but then I just thought tech was the thing at the time. It was booming. It was like really exciting, dynamic, and lots of varied opportunities. So I went for that. But if I hadn't, it would have been law for sure.
For law, okay, good. What inspires you? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
I think, helping, sharing from your own journey, helping others, looking at others and learning from them as well. There's lots of people that we admire and look up to, and doing a really good job, being the best of me that I can be in whatever I do. And having a fulfilling job with lots of variety, lots of change happening constantly as it does in technology or within the project space where I work. All of those, the variety really gets me going, and public speaking and sharing and working with people,
right?
Different people.
In terms of your background, obviously from an Asian background, what were some of the experiences that you might have gone through early on that have shaped you into being the person that you are today?
I think early on, my parents were really caring and supportive. They worked really hard, a real hard work ethic, and we have a good, academia is very important in the Asian world. And I think because they were really hardworking, very honest, and they taught me some really, really good core values, which I've grown up with, which has really given me a good base as well. And I think the hard-working ethic goes through you from what you see as you're growing up. They worked really hard. They came to this country. My brother was born in Africa, but I was born here. And they came here and they just started, off from scratch, more or less, to have a good life, etc. And you learn to live with extended parts of the family as well. So all of those things really nurture you and help you in a way when you're older. To know what those values are and what you're about, and you bring your culture in as well.
Okay. You did mention that there was a lack of role models when you started out on your journey. Has this changed at all? In the 20 or so years that you've been on this journey, is it better now, or is it still the same? Or?
It's better. There's a lot more about mentoring and coaching these days. I still think you don't see as many women like ourselves, women of colour. I think in some industries you don't see many at all in the senior ranks. I'm vice president. We've seen more directors coming in now, but I think there's still a lot of work to be done for ethnic minorities or women of colour in general to see more like yourselves, and then it helps our younger generation to aspire to be like them, to be like ourselves. If they see it, they can be it, that there is some work to be done, but it's getting better.
Right, okay. Soft skills, right? I kind of know that in addition to the technical proficiency, there's a whole raft of soft skills that help people in their career journeys. Do you mind just talking us through some soft skills that you think could help people?
So for soft skills, I think it's really good to be able to have a good rapport with people. Know how to influence people as well is really important. But I learned this late, to be fair. And speaking up is another thing. Being, able to articulate and be assertive, but speaking up is important too, because when things aren't right, you can't just go with the flow. You do have to call things out sometimes. And also, I think... I know it's a cliche, we say communication skills, but being able to speak and converse with people, just, opening conversations, networking, it comes into everything you do. And another one I would say is being good at, selling and your own personal brand, being able to be out there, being bold and courageous enough to be out there. We're not good, us British aren't good about talking about ourselves or what we've done well. It's not boasting or bragging. I'm not saying to do that, but to actually talk about what we do so that others are aware. The more conversations you have, the more comes from it, really.
What particular challenges have you experienced in your personal journey so far that, perhaps, somebody watching could learn from your experiences?
I think you need to be, if you're really clear on your goals, you have to be persistent. Don't give up. There's always something there for you. And no matter what barriers and hurdles you come across, get that support in place. Get someone to mentor you or to coach you. Get somebody who may have trod the path already so you can learn from them. I just think be persistent with your goals. Don't give up, because I think there's too many people out there that don't even try or try and then give up. There's always a way, and there's always some support you can find out there to achieve your goals. We're all entitled to, live the life we want, and also help other people on the way. There's nothing worse than putting people down on your way up, because 9 times out of 10, the world is so small, you will come across them again. So don't make enemies, but be wise and use your intuition. Always go with your gut feel. That's something I've learned. If you feel something's not right, then don't do it. Don't go against the little voice in your head.
Yeah. So just tell us a little bit about your book. Just give us a synopsis.
So this book I wrote because I love writing, and I often found in my blogs people liked what I wrote. So I thought I will write the book to help and inspire others to be more aware about the tech industry, to encourage more females, because there's currently only 26% of females in the industry, and show common roles that are available, also to inspire to take steps to do more for people. I've written a little bit in there about personal branding, networking, and diversity in general. So there's something in there for everybody. There's a whole chapter about emerging technologies. So I wanted to create more awareness, because a lot of people don't understand what blockchain is, or what crypto is, or what AI is, for that matter. So there's a chapter in there to help those that really wouldn't be in the know to read that chapter, so you can dip in and out and take things that you want. I tell my own story, how I changed careers as well. So anybody interested could take a copy and see what they think.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about personal branding before we,
So I think it's important to be clear of what you're known for. Don't go being a jack of all trades. Be really deep and insightful on a couple of areas that you are good at and you want to be known for. And then just be out there, whether it's on social media or face-to-face or online. Be out there and share your messages. Just speak up.
Right. In terms of social media, there's so much pressure these days for people to come out and be on social media. And social media can almost be harmful sometimes when you get too immersed in it as a culture, because you're constantly checking, posting, and it's a way of reaching people, but it can also be detrimental. Just tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that, and how people can manage their lives so that they're not so consumed. Because something, you can see somebody on social media and what they're doing, and what that does to you is it makes you feel discouraged, because it makes you feel less than worthy. It makes you feel like you failed.
Yes, yeah.
You look at somebody, you look at the subscriber base, you look at the number of likes, and sometimes, contrary to that being something to encourage you, it could actually work against you.
Reverse. So it's a really interesting question, because I think it's important to understand whoever you're looking at has gone through so much hard work behind the scenes that you don't see. You're just seeing the best part on social media. It's like a duck swimming frantically with the legs frantically going underwater. And I feel like that. So I've done so much on social media. You've prepared so much, and then it's for a 1-minute clip or 30-second clip, and everybody's saying, "Oh, how wonderful!" But they haven't seen the hard work behind what you've been doing, all the years or months or whatever you've been doing. So you have to be very mindful and careful of that, and understand everybody's journey is different. You should never compare yourself to others on social media. And you put out what you want people to see. Obviously, people want to see the best of you.
It's not good to be too consumed and taken in. I do feel for the younger generation, because these days I think the old-fashioned communication, picking up a phone and calling someone opposed to just texting, is better. So there are things to learn there as well, because people forget that they need to communicate more, and you should really, have it at specified periods. If it's just 20 minutes in the morning where you're posting, and then the rest of the day you're not going to look at it and get on with your day, and then maybe again in the evening, but you really have to balance it and not be consumed. You can be at dinner and people are just on their phones, so why are they there together? There's lots of points to look at there, and I think people shouldn't compare is the main thing on there. I think we all go through that thinking, they've got 100,000 followers, but that actually doesn't mean anything. It's quality over quantity, because someone with 1,000 followers may be producing the best content and really useful to you at that time. So you have to be mindful of that. It's not all about how many and what they're up to and what they look like. It's you need to look at the quality.
Right. So what's next for you? What's next for Sonal in your journey?
Well, more speaking. I just spoke at Karen Brady's Women in Business and Tech conference this week in Manchester. Going out, sharing a lot more, obviously promoting my book, and whatever's next on my journey, I will ride with it as it comes. But I'm very clear at the moment, this year is all about speaking and my book.
Okay. I also know that you, as part of your preparation into public speaking, you did Toastmasters and various things.
Yeah.
Can you just tell our viewers, a little bit about the importance of being prepared?
The importance of being prepared when speaking to public audience, you mean? Like
Just being prepared for anything, just preparedness, just generally.
So generally, for speaking, you should always have a 30-second or 60-second elevator pitch ready. We're not good at talking about ourselves, but this actually, if you have one ready, it's really important, because it stops you rambling for 10 minutes about yourself when you're out somewhere and someone's switched off and become bored already within the first 3 minutes. So it's important to have your elevator pitch. It's also important to have a little bit of preparation wherever you may be going. Who's going to be there? What do they do? Take a bit of interest so you can ask the right questions. And in general, always have a few open questions ready when you meet somebody new for the first time, or if you're speaking to an audience. Obviously you want to prepare your key points. You don't want something too long, but be quite succinct with what you're saying as well, to make sure people don't lose you. So quite often people give so much content and they're not pitching it the right way. It's brilliant content, but it needs to be pitched to the audience depending on who you're speaking to. Toastmasters is a very good place to start if you want to learn speaking, and there's numerous different courses as well that you can take. I've learned also from Bianca and Byron, which they're absolutely amazing speakers too. So lots of ways you can pick up and learn speaking. It's more about practice and feedback as well.
Okay. How do you handle negative feedback?
None of us like negative feedback. I think I've grown very resilient over the years, very strong about it now, because I think I know my own strengths. But it does take time to process things sometimes, and you have to go back to think about what is right and what was wrong. Perhaps they're seeing it from a different angle to you, and it may not be always right. You have to take things and take action where appropriate, I would say. It's hard to process though sometimes.
Anyway, we have a tradition on this podcast where we give our guests the opportunity to dedicate the episodes that they feature on, to any one or any group of people of the choice. So who would you like to dedicate today's episode to? And you can look at the camera for that.
I'd like to dedicate today's episode to my late mother and late father, who gave me some absolute wonderful values, a brilliant upbringing and lots of love. And I'm sure all the parents out there would be able to relate to that. I really wish my late mother was here to see the launch of my book. And I'm sure they're both looking down on me proudly at the moment.
Fantastic. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd like you to leave some comments. Share this content, subscribe, and thank you very much, Sonal.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much
for this opportunity, and see you next week.
Thank you.